don't have to stay where you started. Period. Like, for anybody that's listening, like, you really don't have to stay where you started. We set goals for ourselves that God never set for us, and then we think we're not succeeding when we don't do what God never meant for us to do. Let me repeat that. We set goals for ourselves that God never set for us, and then we think we're not succeeding when we're not doing what God never meant for us to do. Let me repeat that again for whoever didn't hear me. We set goals for ourselves that God never set for us, and then we think we're failing when we're not succeeding in something that God never meant for you to do anyways.
Welcome back to the Minority Mind Podcast. I'm here today, guys, with a very, very special brother. Definitely wanting to talk about his experience with stocks and business overall, and especially as a man of God following Christ. Definitely can learn a lot about life from him as well. But this is the young entrepreneur, young professional segment, and I definitely wanted to bring him on today to just drop value, drop gems. So, man, just introduce yourself and how you would introduce yourself to anybody who just said, who are you? Like, who are you, Nick?
Appreciate it, bro. My name is Nicholas Akogu, as you know. I'm really just an overcomer, bro. I'm a conqueror, you feel me? I'm an experienced, student of life, you feel me? Just, who am I? I feel like there's so many answers to that question, but I would say that the easiest way to answer that is just I'm a servant of God, I feel like I've fought too many battles to get to this level of faith that I'm at now, and this place of peace. And overall, bro, through all my journeys, the only thing that's made the most sense to me is just like when I'm following God, that's the most gain I've had in my life. It beats the stocks. It beats everything else, Whenever I'm in tune with God, bro, I feel like my life, I don't need anything. You know what I mean? It's like an unnatural peace. So that's who I am. I'm a servant and son of God.
Hey, man, I love that answer. Serving God is what we do, through all things for him. Let's get into the business side of things. Professionally, what would you say your expertise is? Because I know that the things that you're good at, but expertise-wise, what would you go and explain to people what you're good at?
I would say, bro, honestly, I grew up doing camera work, just like that's what I used to do. My expertise, just learning. Like, I'm an expert learner, bro. Anything I want to learn, I can learn. Whether it's a language or like stocks, like that's what I learned 6 months ago, and it's changed my life. You get me? I've been doing stocks for less than a year, and I made well over what I've made in a year just doing stocks. So right now, that's my area of expertise, and I feel like in the years to come, it'll change just because that's how my life is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly evolving, bro, and I never really stay in the same place for too long,
That makes sense, and it's good that you kind of tied in being an expert learner, because you can take that with you everywhere. The knowledge from different areas, that only works when we doing certain things. But expert learner, you put yourself in any situation, you able to adapt. Figure it out, just like like we a chameleon or something. We just adapting to every situation.
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I've tried to get into a field, you know what I mean, and all that, and it's just like there are opportunities greater than my ability to understand, and there are opportunities greater than the skill level I have, and there's opportunities greater than the knowledge I have. And every time I get one of those, it makes me realize why I have to evolve, literally. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, in high school and stuff, I used to work a lot of manual labor jobs and forklift and stuff like that, and it was great money. But then I started learning, like, obviously there's more to life than money. But then it just really became obvious that you have to do something you love. You can't just keep, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just keep working and working. And then I hated working. So my whole goal, bro, ultimately, tie back to that question, how do I take myself out of a 9 to 5? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not even about being a millionaire or something. How do I make sure that I can live a comfortable life without working a 9 to 5, without answering to anybody? And just being able to do that, has opened my eyes. And actually, like, when you came in, that's why I said it. I was like, I'm not really doing too much, because when you do have that, like, independence, like, you can be patient with your process. You can sit and ask God, hey, where am I going next? And that's something that I've really been blessed with, bro. And it's taken me a long time to understand that, but I think that now I'm coming to terms with, like, you're moving at God's speed. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I could force in this direction and fail in that direction. I could force in this direction and fail in that direction. But ultimately, bro, when you do the right thing, it's very cohesive with everything else that you have going on. And yeah, that's what I've learned. Yeah.
That's huge. Living on your own time and being able to gain that independence, and it's possible for everybody. It's possible for everybody, even if you are, employee at some point or another, because we all start somewhere. It's possible to get into investing and eventually start making so much money to where now you can take away time from your 9 to 5. Maybe you do work a part time, maybe 15, 20 hours, but then you got like real estate or you got stocks that that pays for most of your life, so you don't have to go do that. Because like you said, most of the things that actually matter don't even like require money. Kids, for example, a young father, like kids, the biggest things that we actually should value are the things we can't pay for, the limited experiences that we only get for a short time, that we want to have the time freedom to go experience. So that's huge. Let's talking about all your different areas of expertise. Before we get deep on that, let's talk about like growing up, lessons, things that made you the person you are today, because obviously we shaped by our experiences, our environment, the lessons we teach, the lessons we actually learn from the experience we go through. What do you feel like are some things that you learned earlier on that some people just don't really take to heart? People can learn lessons, but unless you take it to heart and be like, oh wow, I gotta actually live by this, you're not gonna be able to actually live by it. You're gonna think it's just like, oh yeah, grandpa used to say this, but really, some of our older folks actually had it right. We just didn't listen to them. So what's the type of lessons you can pass on that you actually took to heart and live by now?
Look, I'm not perfect, bro. You feel me? I've been locked up, so it's not like I listened to everything I was told. But I'll say for sure, bro, what stuck with me the most was just my mother's voice always telling me you could do anything you put your mind to. And when I put my mind to, last year I was living in hotels, bro, so it's like I got this apartment by mistake, you know what I mean? And then let me backtrack. So back to the childhood, right? Something I took away, bro, is that you can literally create anything that you can see in your mind. Like literally, like it's not a joke. People say it's manifestation and stuff, but like I'm coming from Nigeria. I'm coming from a very low place. Anything that you can see in your mind, you can create. Like I saw my stock market account. It started at less than $1,000. I just saw it in my head continuously for weeks. I'm gonna hit 25K in a month. I'm gonna hit, and it did. Once I really realized that, I understood how powerful not only our minds. A lot of people have a lot of nice stuff and comfortable ways to make the mind seem so attainable. But the thing is, you have to train it. Like I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like I learned that in prison, not even in my childhood. Like my whole childhood was full of questions. You know what I mean? My whole childhood was full of questions. I always asked why we didn't have enough, why mom and dad was this, why aren't y'all next to each other, why aren't y'all showing love to us, why aren't we doing this? And none of those questions were answered until I started understanding that the answer is you. Like you are the answer. You know what I mean? She is the answer. I am the answer. Your father, he was the answer for his problems. Your mother, that was the answer. She was the answer for your grandpa. He was the answer for his problems. When I started realizing that we have to answer our own questions, it made me want to study life. You know what I mean? It just made me take a different approach to life. Like it's a journey, bro. We get caught up in these goals that we set for ourselves, and I had a lot of goals as a kid, but I'm not doing any of the things that I thought I was going to be doing. Not one.
Yeah.
Not one. So one thing I'll say from my childhood, bro, is that you don't have to stay where you started. Period. Like for anybody that's listening, like you really don't have to stay where you started. I'm never going to go back to Nigeria unless it's on my own accord. Unless it's to visit and see things the way I want to see things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not from like a place of captivity, like, oh, you can't leave kind of thing. Like,
Right.
So, yeah, bro.
That's huge. I mean, I can unpack that really, really well, especially on the ideas of learning and curiosity. When you do come from a background, a childhood of just questions, like you got so many questions about why things are the way they were, but they never answered. And it's because as a kid, we come in this world very like innocent and like we're trying to figure out how it works. Why are things unfair? Why is it that this stuff is happening to us and we had nothing to do with it? So I feel that the more people I meet, the more I realize, like, when you do have a childhood like that, that's what make you curious. That's what make you the learner you are, because you like, why in the world, it comes from that sense of like, okay, I know that this wasn't fair, but why did this happen? And then now it leads you to understand nature of humans and understand the world in just such a deeper way that people that don't necessarily have a childhood of questioning and like very sheltered, they actually never get to that level of curiosity because they don't really have that foundation.
They don't get none of the answers, bro.
Yeah, they
You know
don't.
what I mean?
But hitting on that, Nigeria, I can talk about that all the time. I'm reading a book about Nigerian history right now. But it's just huge about how people that come from different places, different cultures, immigrants per se, they have a different background and understanding, but they also lack understanding in certain areas. Like,
I lack a lot of understanding.
a lot of understanding. Like, they're really big on hard work and achievement because, the American dream was sold to them as well. They wasn't even here and the American dream was sold to them. So they'll have all their personality traits in their career, and then personally, they lack a lot of things, like a lot of information around just how to raise children, how to, behave in a family unit or in a community. Like, it's a lot of stuff that they lack, but just understanding people are imperfect, bro. Like, that's really what it came. Like, people are not perfect. Been trying to still strive to push that needle forward, though. Still striving.
I don't think perfection is a destination. You know what I mean? I really don't. And I've just learned that from my own experiences. Like, I learned that in prison. Just sitting in there for like years, you just kind of start to understand, like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, is time running away from me, or am I running away from my time? And what I could say is that once you get to it, like, I stopped chasing this perfect accepts, like, this worldly thing. Like, there's certain things that we can enjoy in our own lives if we don't compete with anybody else in the world. Like, my daughter, for instance, I will never be upset or, like, how shall I say, feel like less when I spend large amounts on her or when I'm able to do those things. Why? Because I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't in a position to do those things at one point. My parents weren't able to put me in the positions that I'm going to be putting my daughter in. And so when we talk about perfection, I don't think anything is perfect. Nothing in this world is perfect, besides God. And that's our intuitive connection to, to life. But perfection is not real, brother.
Right.
There's no such thing.
Right.
I promise you. That's actually, perfection is actually the cause of all suffering. You know what I mean? That's the cause of all suffering, and that's the cause of all lack. When people realize what they don't have, when people realize that they are without. Psalms 23 starts off with, Jehovah my shepherd, I do not lack. Or in the King James Version it says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You know what I mean? But that's perfection.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Not knowing that you don't need more than you already have.
Being content with what God gave you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because you are in a place where nobody else is.
I mean, let's talk about it. Let's really talk about it. I mean, we in the United States. You realize that the people that are supposedly poor in the United States have it better than like most people in this entire world.
80% of the world, bro. 90%
And
of the
then
world.
we'll complain about, being in certain situations. Like, we won't take into account the fact that we're blessed no matter what. I talk about this all the time. Like, I've always had a backup plan if like everything went wrong, because I just know how blessed I am to even have things go wrong and me be in this country. Like, to even have things go wrong and me be in this country, you know how many opportunities they are for you to get back to where you need to be or get back to where you can do more things. And it's not necessarily that you have to do that, but just off the strength of that the word I'm looking for is, I believe, gratitude, or just that gratitude is huge. Because I mean, like I always say, the people that are worldly worse off, the blessings that you have being in this country alone is just insane. And that's why I would never understand the negativity that can kind of surround the world, like, because social media is a place for drama. So a lot of people are just going there and talk about, oh yeah, the United States, this or that. And yeah, I understand history, but I also understand that despite things being bad, there's always that good side. God is always a part of anything. He said that all things work in a favor in his good, for his good. So it's like there's not a point in time where I'm gonna sit around and act like there isn't a good side to where we are. But that's huge.
And ultimately, just to bounce off of that, bro, like, um, there's this race, like Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about. It's called the rat race. And even these people that write these books, you know, once you dive into like a certain level of truth, bro, you start to understand that everybody's doing the same thing. Ultimately, everybody's just chasing some money, right? And that's great. You know, it's amazing. But take away these people's riches.
Where are they?
Who are they? What are they? Take away their riches. Take away their ability to have apartment complexes, not just an apartment complexes. Take away their ability to own Bugattis. Take away their ability to fly private jets. Take away their ability to wear Prada, Louis, all this other stuff, right? And you are left with a man, which is what God made us. That's what God made in the image of him. He made man in the image of him. So like, when we get down to like the country, bro, first off, especially United States, I don't want to dive too deep into it because this may offend some people. This whole country is actually built on iniquity, if you want to use, for lack of a better term from the Bible, biblical terms, iniquity and transgression, bro. Not saying that I'm perfect. I've been to prison. I used to rob and all this other stuff. But that's why I understand the darkness of the world, because I used to be the darkness of the world. And America is not set up for us to thrive. Period. Everybody in the world knows that. It's not a negative conversation. It's just the truth. And the truth actually is what is setting people free. That's why you see a lot of people going to other countries. You see a lot of people getting citizenship in Dubai, or what is it, Sweden, or like Bali. They're moving about, stuff like that, because America's not it.
That's huge, man. I'm actually going to go into the conversation because we can have a real conversation about just how things have developed. You know, you understand history, you understand how civilization actually progressed. You see how civilizations went from community-based into capitalistic-based societies, based from like how Europeans would come places and they would instill their capitalistic tendencies into different cultures. Like specifically when I was reading Story of Civilization, like I'm really trying to get through that series. It's a bunch. It's like 11 books. History, Civilization, Story of Civilization by Will Durant. It's like an 11-book history series, but big on how civilization actually progressed. Like we started out more communistic society driven because we all shared the equal of the West. It was a common goal of like, we're poor, but we're poor together because we can all support each other. And as soon as you get into the capitalistic societies, you incentivize progress, but you desincentivize the people that don't provide as much value to the system. And then that's why it starts to become like a cog in the wheel, and you start to value worldly things. Value in the worldly system. I'm not going to say value in the godly system, because we all know that we were all created in the image of God. So like when you look at the communistic worldly way of living, that actually shows more of what God intended, in the sense that we're all created equal, because in communistic societies, everyone is equal. But in a capitalistic society, you have this worldly values of telling you that you're better because you make more money. That when in no way, shape, or form that's true. But you know, it's interesting. I can go all day on that, so we're not gonna take up the whole podcast and like talk about it. But you do understand that capitalistic societies value people who are going to go to the extremes, make money, and for sure try to be worldly successful rather than spiritually successful. And when reality, though, nothing matter besides the spiritual success. What are you when you strip away a man's like possessions? Like, are you going to follow what the word says? Because the word says, you know, there's things that you have to do, and none of it talks about private jets or anything like that. It does say a man should leave possessions and inheritance. But there's more than just the physical inheritance. There's moralistic inheritance. There's all types of inheritances that you can leave for your kids. So not to say that you cannot leave worldly inheritances for your kids, but to say that if we start to value those worldly ones over the spiritual ones, we're gonna drive ourselves into a hole.
I'll say this though, from being a father, you do need to, like, people do need to stress how much they provide for their kids. Like, my daughter lives a very blessed life because I've taken a lot of time. Like, she lives with her mom right now, and they live with like their family. But I've put so many things into that home, bro, that aren't in my home. You know what I mean? And that's the duty of a father. Like, and I'm young. I never understood it. It confused me for a long time. Maybe some people could relate. Like, it confused me. I was like, how am I supposed to not have this and they got this? And I'm like, well, God gave you these thousands of dollars and these hundreds for you to go do that. You know what I mean? She had things that I'm like, yo, like, nobody's done this for me. And that's where God's grace stepped in for me. And even now, like, I just had a talk with myself yesterday, bro. Um, I forget what scripture I was reading, but similar topic about the world, bro, and just trying to ask God, like, where does it stop? What is the limit?
Where's the balance?
Not even the balance, because he says don't be double-minded.
Right. You cannot serve two masters.
You can't serve two masters.
Or you grow to hate one of them.
You hate the one, you feel me, and love the other more, right? And so, like, for myself, I've been asking, like, because I make good money, but I always give it away, bro, because I don't even feel comfortable keeping it for myself. I'm be honest with you. I like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's undocumented. It's not any of that. It's just, like, that's actually why I feel like I'm here. And so, like, in the world and in this world, there is a fine line, bro, where how much is enough and when are you satisfied? Because ultimately, your position changes. I know this from being a father. Your position will change. What was enough for me last year no longer does it for me. Right. Why? Because I'm in a different position.
You have different responsibilities as a man, like spiritual responsibilities too, especially with a kid. Because I definitely wanted to talk about that. Being a young father, what are some lessons that you learned? Because it's a lot of guys that really want to hear that. Obviously, everyone talks about, like, oh yeah, you should do this and that. You should be perfect. But God says that we all fall short of of things. And realistically, you got lessons. That there's some guys out here, I know for a fact, that need to hear about being a young father and, like, just on that end for sure.
I'm gonna talk to you about something very real, bro. When my daughter was born, I got out of jail the day she was born, literally 6 hours before she was born. The funniest thing about this whole thing was, you asked me 4 months before I got locked up, and this was like a third case I was fighting or something, bro. So it was just like a lot of chaos in my life, selling drugs and stuff like this, making good money doing that. My woman was pregnant. I was under the impression that if I gave her $1,000 a week, I'm doing my job, right? She'd come over, whatever. She'd spend time with me. I'd comfort her, stuff like that. But then I started realizing, bro, that presence, just the actual presence of your being in a place, in a room, it's priceless. It's priceless. You know what I mean? Like, my lady's birthday just passed. It was July 4th, right? No amount of money could add up to the 30-40 minutes. She just spent like an hour with me or whatever, and that just, like, I could just tell, like, she was just happy about that. She just happy about seeing me with my daughter. You can't buy those things, bro. I'm trying to tell you, like, and for the young dads too, I'll say this, bro. When I was born, bro, I had no idea what I was gonna, when my daughter was born, I had no idea how I was gonna put things I didn't even have an apartment, bro. I was living in my car. I just got out of jail. I had $800 to my name. So there's a very fine line, and that's why I like the conversation you started, because there is a very fine line, bro, between this worldly life and the spiritual life. But then once God gives you a child, right? I've seen fathers do this. I was just talking to a brother not too long ago, and he's in a bad situation. He wanted to come over here and shower. And one conversation that I had with him let me know, I'm like, bro, you need to clean yourself. Not with my bathroom or my water. You clean your spirit. He doesn't prioritize seeing his children. I drove 30 minutes to my lady's house just to sit outside with my daughter to say goodnight last night. I don't care. It could be 3 a.m. I started seeing pictures of this girl. I need to see her. I could text her, call right now. Look, I need to see Kalani. I'm on my way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to, as a young father, you actually just have to feel the love. When I came home, bro, and I remember the first thing my daughter did, bro, I could show you the video, was grab my pinky. Eyes closed, crying, all that. She wasn't even crying, actually. Eyes closed, but I could cry thinking about it. And she didn't let go of my pinky, bro. And I just knew, bro, this girl brought me home. This girl brought me home. That's the reason I'm free now. Not because of myself. I've been unrighteous for most of my life. I'll tell you the truth. I've been confused for most of my life. But when my daughter came in the picture, bro, it gave me peace, bro, and clarity. Like, it's the most beautiful feeling in the world, bro, because you look at this person is relying on you, but because they can't speak and you think they can't hear, you don't know how to express that you're relying on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm relying on my daughter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, I don't know how to, like, she can't quit on me, obviously, but be there. Be there. Like, that's the most beautiful thing. Let me take care of you. You know what I mean? When you're with me. And that's one thing I've argued with her mom is, like, I'm a provider. Let me take care of y'all. But she lives with her parents, so it's like a different, like,
dynamic.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of things I would, like, have them do. But it's okay, and I just realized, bro, that understanding is just that's the one thing you have to have as a father, like, especially young men, bro. Like, young men beat themselves up because they see Instagram and they see TikTok and they see YouTube, and they think, if I'm not making $1 million, my kid can't be happy. My daughter has shoes, clothes, toys, every other thing that she can imagine. I don't know how, but it happened. God did it.
Yep.
So a lot of young fathers just need to stay patient, bro, and realize that my daughter's 14 months now. There's so much more time to go. Yep. You know what I mean? Everything is not accomplished. Rome was not built in a day. My daughter she's not an adult. I'm going to have to constantly adapt and evolve, bro, as a man, to offer her a better quality of life, a better mindset. I do affirmations with her, even though she can't talk or hear me. But just these little things, bro, that you don't know if it's making a difference, but because you believe it is, you know what I mean? So
that's
I know I went all over the place, but
no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the question. I definitely think that, what you express with, having that genuine love and valuing your time with your kid over the worldly possessions of money and thinking that it's not going to be taken care of, gotta take care of that. Then it's huge on the love portion, because I do feel like a lot of, people, they don't necessarily come from a perfect background. And like we said, perfection is not a real thing. Yeah. So none of us come from a perfect background. We both got we have different backgrounds, but the same story. The same story of coming from people who didn't necessarily know how to, they didn't have that relational intelligence, but they had this worldly intelligence of, I'm going to push the needle forward in terms of the worldly possessions of my family. And not to say that they were spiritually weak, but to say that they didn't have it all together. That's just the reality. They did it.
And you are a good, like, I tell you all the time, I call you the professor. You know what I mean? I'm serious, bro. I call you the professor because you know what that's like, right? You know what it's like to aim for more than what you were destined for, or than what the cloth that you were cut from. So you imagine, like, I'll use this in an analogy, right? It's my clothing brand, y'all. You cut out a piece of this, just a circle, and you put it here. What does that make you? Are you still part of the shorts? Or are you just fabric? And how do you is there a missing piece? Is there? Or is that what you are? You know what I mean? And so, like, you know what that's like, bro. And I really actually want to ask you a question for the sake of this, bro. What has been your experience, bro, with blackness in this world, bro? And I think you can answer that question better than most, because you come from a respectable family that has built. I don't know too much about you, but I could just see, what I mean? You guys have built, and now you are being built. And it says it takes a village to raise a child. And you know what I mean? And raise a child in the way that he should go, and he shall not forget. You feel me? He shall not depart from you feel me? Right. So I know I wasn't like that, but I want to talk to you about that. Because that's an experience that I could learn from and digest, you know what I mean?
I mean, we could talk about that all day, but I'll keep it short, simple, and very impactful. At the end of the day, none of us come from perfect families, but all it takes is one person to decide that I'm not going to be the product of my environment. That's
Amen.
everything that I try to preach. Everything.
Amen.
Like if I didn't, I wrote about it. You know, we're going to talk about the book we collaborated on for sure. But I wrote about it in the book. I learned from two different people that just because you come from a certain environment doesn't mean you have to be a product of it. You don't have to take the negatives and hold those dear to your heart and like crush them down so that they just, you know, come out and explode on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You have to actually decide and make a decision. It really is just a decision. It's getting close with God, one, because God is the one that ultimately determines it all, but two, making sure that you decide you're not going to be a product of that environment. At the end of the day, I know that my parents, they had their own negative influences that affected them. And if they took every negative influence, held it close to their heart, and decided that they wasn't going to make any progress, wasn't going to push the needle forward so that their kids can have a better life, I would probably be in a way worse situation. But same thing with them. Even though that they were humans that decided to push that needle forward, doesn't mean that they did it perfect with me.
Nah,
I can talk about things that I, you know, for a long time just didn't understand about how they raised me, things that affected me deeply because I was just a kid that didn't feel like they deserved certain things, just like I'm sure that they did when they were growing up. But that just because I experienced certain negativity doesn't mean that I stop and I wallow in that and I let the world decide who I'm going to be. I'm going to keep pushing that needle forward so that hopefully there is, not hopefully, but God will allow for me to take the pain that I felt, do better, and then also leave a roadmap so that my kid understands that, oh no, this is the cycle. This is how it goes. People are imperfect. So no matter what, you're going to try to be perfect. You're going to mess up. You're going to fall short. And it's going to affect people that you care about. But ultimately, the biggest thing I try to teach anyone is do not become a product of your environment. 100%. Do not be a victim.
Nah, 100%.
At the end of the day, you know, we all are going to be imperfect, but it only takes one person to break generational curses. That one person that said, I'm not going to be a part of that environment. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be it. I promise you. I'm going to mess up in some places. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to mess up in some places. Everyone's going to mess up in some places. Man, but I guarantee you, what I went through and the lessons I learned from the generations before me, that's not going to happen again. We're going to just keep pushing the needle forward. And then eventually, you know, things just keep progressing. There's always going to be struggles. There's always going to be problems. But I guarantee you that I'm not going to sit here and play victim my entire life. That, you know, God, conquer. You know, we was made in the image of God. I take that literally. You know, God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh, you know. And he said that the power that raised Christ from the dead is the power that lives within us. And people hear those things and they look at it as like spiritual or religious, and they think that it's like truth. A game. like no, that's what I live by. Like, it's not a game. This is serious. This is like real life. We are creators. You know, we were put here to be creators of a. It was an ideal that wasn't met because of, you know, the history of the Bible of what happened before us. But we still have a responsibility to live by the commandments. You know, Matthew, I'm reading Matthew right now. When I forgot who it was who asked Jesus, what are the most important of the commandments? He said one is to, you know, praise God as your Lord and Savior. Then two, to love thy neighbor as thyself. Yes. And those are the two that all commandments fall under. So if you can do that,
you're bro, that's the key to prosperity. I'm telling you. I want to talk about that, bro. I want to say that, just to bounce off of that, bro, there's so much gain. Trust me, bro. God has had his way with me. It's a beautiful thing, right, to still be here. There is, somebody said this to me, actually, one of my friends from California. She said, not all good money is good money, right? Not all money is good money. And she makes like 50, 40K a month, and she's younger than me. She's 22. But she loses all of that every month. You know what I mean? Because the world has told her to chase an ideal. We live in a world, bro, that, and I was homeless, so I could say this, I could really say this. We live in a world where you'll never be fulfilled by your income. I promise you. Like you'll never be fulfilled by having more. You know, I've been to the point where, like, I've given jewelry away. I've given stuff away because I'm like, yo, bro, I got too much stuff. Like, I give free stuff away all the time because it's like, yo, God, you gave me this, and I'm not here to build for the world, if that makes sense, right? Like, what if, and this is just a theory, bro, what if the new earth is everybody providing for everybody? Period. Think about that. You have, I don't, okay, let's trade.
That's how life was in the past. History developed to incentivize progress instead of incentivize collective growth. It was the capitalistic system was built to incentivize growth because it overcompensated people who added value in new progressive ways rather than provide value as a collective whole.
Established.
So
exactly.
Just like now in a non-for-profit space, like, you know, you don't have to necessarily spend all that money on helping people. You can pay yourself a ridiculous salary if you own one of these big non-for-profits. And
a lot of people do.
A lot of people do. That's a lot of what they do. You can go look at the public records and see how much they pay themselves.
It's crazy.
And it's huge. But, you know, we went away from that collective because that's how it used to be. You know, even when, you know, black people were just getting out of slavery and we started, you know, living in these ghettos together, it was actually pretty nice how the community was at one point where we used to, you know, I need a couple of shit. You know, we trade and stuff. We actually working as a community.
Got it. Go over there.
Go over there, ask him.
RJ got it. Like,
everybody knew each other. Everybody knew each other. And you look at the history of that as well, and you find that, you know, the world seems to decentivize you to work collectively like that, which is why I don't like how, you know, the black community in America is so divided. Around the world it seems like we're so divided in certain senses because you know, collectively as a whole, as a group, the work that people could do as a whole, it unfortunately, I know that it's like a godly thing for us to work together and love thy neighbor as ourselves. That's a godly thing, not a worldly thing. And you see how the world corrupts things by creating divides so that we can argue over political parties and stuff like that, and people that's going to be president. I'm going to be honest, I'm not arguing over none of that. I don't care. I don't care. You know, I know there's only one person that run this world, and that's God. At the end of the day, I know I'm going to be good as long as I'm following him.
For real.
But yeah, they divide us. Bro, I want to get, let's get into some topics because we've been really big philosophical, big level mindset, learning, knowledge.
Right, come on,
let's
man.
get into some specific knowledge for the people. First, around the clothing brand.
Okay.
Because, man, like, clothing brand, you got nice clothes. I'm definitely gonna have some content coming out with the clothes. Like, I'm gonna shout you out, put the brand everywhere and stuff like that.
Do a video of you working out or something.
For sure.
Collaborate on that
for sure. But talk about the clothing brand. What was the message that you intended that clothing brand to display for people that wore the brand, and how do you plan on that moving forward?
Man, the crazy thing is, I'm telling you, God always brings me from a low place, bro. Like, I started this with my last $5,000 when I was living in a hotel, literally. And the first product I had, I don't even think I have it anymore. I was hand printing at a print press at a print. One of the clients I had for photography, he owned a print shop, and he contracted me to do camera work. And I was like, "Yo, Will, I have this clothing brand, bro. Can I print here?" And the man would give me vinyl and cutouts and all this other stuff, and I don't have the product here, but it was just a simple plain black tee with some silver and gold vinyl on it, bro. The clothing brand is called The Difference, right? It's not? Okay. The clothing brand is called The Difference, bro. Why? Because at that time in my life, bro, I had nothing. I didn't expect, it didn't blow up yet. It's not blown up yet, right? But the difference was, can I trust that God is putting me in a position where you don't understand, but later you'll see? You know what I mean? Like, now you don't understand, but later you're going to see, bro. The whole idea behind this, I'm going to be honest with you, these Z's, this logo, I drew this when I was in prison, when I was 20 years old. My cellmate, we had made a contract and sent it to each of our families. We put our fingerprints in it, everything. We were like, bro, Zadi, like, it means the unordinary, like you're anomalous, right? And this man, I think he ended up passing away or something. I don't know. He's from the hood, bro. We ended up catching a body or something. God, like, I feel so bad for this man, bro. And the last time I seen him, I just told him, like, bro, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I turned everything that we were talking about in the cell to a reality. All you got to do is sell it. I said, I have the trademark. I got the LLC, bro. Don't worry. I'll do the paperwork. All you got to do is sell it. This man chose to kill people. You know? So, bro, ultimately for me, this brand symbolizes the progress you haven't made and everything good that's coming, which is the difference in your life, literally. Everything that you are dreaming about that you don't know, you haven't seen, that's the difference in your life, right? You having more properties, you making your family proud, that's the difference. You being a greater, better man, you being a better son, you becoming a husband, that's the difference. Me being a father, me not selling drugs anymore, me actually finding legal ways to make income without a 9 to 5, me applying my knowledge to different scenarios, me helping my mother attain her financial achieve her financial goals, right? That's the difference. I never did it. Like, it's never it's very hard to sell a thing without selling yourself. Right. But at the heart of all of this, bro, I don't care about myself. I'm be honest with you, because this life was given to me. It's a gift. This flesh, this body, when I come to the realization of that every time, bro, it makes me just stop doing a lot of things. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the difference, bro, is you. The difference is her. The difference is this. I am the difference. You know? We are the difference. Literally.
I like that, man. I really like it. And the message behind it is very clear. You know, everything good to come in our life.
Oh, yeah, bro.
That's huge. And believing that helps you stay consistent and motivated. It's a big God foundation in that, because God says that all, that faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. Move mountains. Like, he didn't even say, like, your entire faith in your being. Like, some people, like, even in the story of Job, like, Job was questioning when everything was being taken away from him, his kids, his family,
his health.
Like he was conflicted, and it wasn't like he ultimately, his actions showed face, but you could see in how he spoke and how he thought about the situation. It was like, man, question it, but action wise, he kept going. He didn't condemn God. He didn't do any of that. He just said, man, it's tough right now. Yeah. Yeah, action wise, he continued to stay through all of the things that had happened, and he didn't completely give up with his actions, and it worked out. And that's huge, the difference. That faith component of knowing that everything good to come. It may not be there right now, but it's coming for sure.
And I just to add to that too, it's like we give ourselves goals, bro. And I've seen a lot of people fall in this trap. I've fallen in this trap, so that's why I know it's a trap. We set goals for ourselves that God never set for us, and then we think we're not succeeding when we don't do what God never meant for us to do. Let me repeat that. We set goals for ourselves that God never set for us, and then we think we're not succeeding when we're not doing what God never meant for us to do. Let me repeat that again for whoever didn't hear me. We set goals for ourselves that God never set for us, and then we think we're failing when you're not succeeding in something that God never meant for you to do anyways. Literally. Like, so that's what I'm like, God, was this my own idea? Is that why it's not? And sometimes that answer is yes. You know what I mean? God is strongest when I'm weak, right? And I'm strongest when I'm serving. When we are not serving, bro, or thinking of service, and it has to be true service, because a lot of people are doing service out here. And this is what makes me detached from the world. Like, I run away from people like Jesus did. I swear I do. I disappear on people. Because there's a lot of self in things. And I take care of my family. So it's a whole different vision, a whole different eye. Like, you know how it says, if your eye be single, then your whole body will be filled with light. If thine eye be single, well, I got one eye, bro. And when I look out of it, I see the truth. And I be like, I can't be a part of that. Yeah. Jesus was not a member of any church. Nope. Jesus was not a bishop. He was not a clergy member. He was not a pastor. He was not a preacher.
The titles of man.
So I like to say there's two things I know. One, that I know nothing. And two, that God is real. Period. You know what I mean? I don't want to. We'll go on it. Yeah,
That's
we'll
a
go
good
on
foundation.
forever, bro.
It's a good foundation. We can go on the like higher level mindset stuff,
Yeah,
the
bro.
foundation. And people undervalue that foundation because you about a lot of courses and they'll start with the mindset of things, and people don't realize the mindset is the foundation of everything. That's entirely what my brand is about. Why I study psychology, why I study human nature and the history in the world, so I understand how things are. In the basic instructions before leaving Earth, that's the Bible. So like the Bible is. You see in the world how the Bible works. You do see man's sins corrupting things as well. Don't get me wrong, but the foundation of how things should, can, and do work is the Bible. So that's huge.
And you're the professor. Tell me, this is a simple question. Mindset, the way we talk about it, is it not just faith?
A huge part of it is faith. A lot of times
Isn't
we break
it
it down to more than it needs to be because even the first sciences, they were a lot of times Christians. They wanted to understand the world more, so they broke it down deeper to get deeper understanding, but they still held the faith. Nowadays, without understanding the history of science and where it actually came from, you see a lot of people that completely distrust religion and God because they think this is like something where, oh yeah, if it's not proven, then it's not real. But ultimately, if you tell anyone 200 years ago that we would be living here today, able to, reach a whole population through a thing that we held in our hand and then, put out on like a mini device, we would look crazy. Like we would look ridiculous. And the faith that we're going to continue progressing, moving forward, it is a huge foundation of the mindset, having faith. As soon as you play that victim, and that's why I'm big on not playing victim. As soon as you play that victim, you put all of your future in the devil's hands. You playing victim, the devil wants you to go ahead and take away the fact that you are made in the image of God and you have the power to create in this world.
Absolutely.
He would love to get you to believe the lies about yourself that the world tries to tell you, that you're weak, that you're a bad person. Ultimately, bad things can happen to good people. That's the reality.
None of us are good.
Yeah,
that's what the Bible says. But now you're absolutely right, bro. You're absolutely right.
Let's hop into the stocks, bro, because that's the main thing, bro. Like I know that
let me show you something.
That's the main thing, bro. And I know that when it comes down to talking stocks, you the guy. You the guy for that.
I love the numbers, bro. So here I know you guys can't see, but these are just like this. My little AI ass bot. Put it close to the camera for y'all. My AI little ass bot. So I actually caught a stock yesterday, right? I forget what it is, but it was a company that NVIDIA had bought, right? I'm huge in NVIDIA because I watched them go from like $350 to $1,200. So like they brought me well over $20K in the last couple months, and it's a glitch that I don't understand, and that's why it feels morally wrong. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like, how can I make this much money without working or lifting a finger? Like, But we'll dive into stocks, bro. And I just want to say this: every wealthy person on the planet is dealing in some way, shape, or form with stocks because that's a way to hold your wealth. That's a savings account. That is actually the wealthy man's savings account. Not gonna lie. I learned that when I was poor, when I was broke, when I was living in hotels. That's when I learned how to save money. By putting my money in the stocks. I kid you not. That's the only reason I'm here investing, even have what I have, because with, I think it was $60, I just put it into NVIDIA. And then I put $30 the next week into AMD. And the next week I put it into like super microcomputers and all these other things. But I started on Cash App. Now I have a Charles Schwab account. You know what I mean? Like, so faith. You know what I mean? That's my portion. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of things, like, I've tried to teach people about it, but the Bible constantly tells me to not make a reputation for myself. And every time I do try to make a reputation for myself, I fail. I succeed when I'm in utter darkness, being the light to everything around me. Like, I promise you. I don't know why. I told my mama this. I was like, Ma, it's like I can't shine unless there's darkness. She's like, because you're the light.
That's huge. That is really huge. I started to look back at the past and realize that those times where you are the loneliest, where you are like just grinding, like your head is down, you focused on God, you focused on the realization that you have to grow spiritually, as well as take care of your worldly responsibilities. Like that's when I've made the most progress. Like really, you made the most progress when you are locked in by yourself, like
even
Yeah.
your Airbnb stuff. I'm
Yeah.
sure that just when you got into that mode of thinking,
Oh,
you
yeah.
were like, okay, tunnel vision. Let me just lock in. Let me just do this and learn this, and you were digesting knowledge at an natural
like
rate.
an unnatural rate. You spending all day researching
Reading
one
something.
topic,
Yes,
reading. Like people don't
absolutely.
understand that lock in for, like, when I tell people during COVID, while when things had kind of switched up, and I'm like, yeah, like I literally was in the crib 16 hours a day researching real estate, like for the whole day till I went to bed. I was researching real estate, and
look at
they
you
don't,
now,
and they
though.
think that you like playing. Like, no, like when it's serious and it's time for you to lock in, you need that level of focus. That a man that serves two masters begins to hate one. Why are you telling me that you gonna sit over here and focus on girls all day? Which a lot of dudes that's all they do. Like, you sit here and focus on girls all day, and you telling me that that's really what you want? I can tell you that the downfall of a lot of men is women.
It's a woman, bro.
Is women. And if you coming into this world and thinking that these things won't all be taken away because you can't control your focus and what you're focused on, oh, they will. I don't want anyone to experience that lesson. That's why I always preach on it, because I know the path that I was going down. I know the path that God saved me from. And it's like, there's no way in the world I could have or do what I'm able to do now if I didn't push my focus towards God and just locking in and doing what he told me to do, so that you can bless the people around you. Because ultimately, what you said with the wealth side of things, I'm not trying to sit here and have like people talking about millions of dollars for me. For what? Like, my family can be good off of some money. All that money I'm giving, like, a lot of the excess goes away. God blesses me to bless other people. I don't know why people think this money is just for me. That's why that's why I feel like I'm continue to be blessed.
Yes,
and
bro.
if he takes it away, he takes it away too. I'm fine with the opposite as well. There's something he wants me to learn in that, or something I need to be humble to in that if he ever takes it away. But right now, I'm of the full conviction that God blesses me to bless other people. So why would I not give money to kids? Like the kids I mentor. Why would I not go give my time for free? Because this isn't something I'm doing out of greed. Like, I give them money. I go ahead and mentor them. I help them do things. I put them in positions that they believe in themselves, so they don't become victims, and they really are of that mindset. So we can hit on a lot of those things. We keep coming back to this mindset space, bro, because it's such a big foundation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But people don't necessarily hold that because they hear it. They were like, oh yeah. But no, you have to live and breathe it. Your actions need to show me you understand the importance of the mindset, or else you don't necessarily really understand how important that is. But stocks. Let's talk about how we would get started for somebody that's just trying to get started in stocks. There's a lot of people online, and obviously we understand not everybody has good intentions. Some people will, sell you like an education service, and then like you pay monthly to get get trades they send you. And not to say that some of this stuff doesn't work, but to say that you need a discernment. You need that discernment to figure out what's the good information versus the bad one. How do you think people should get started, and how do they discern between that information online?
Look, man, that's a tough question, because I had definitely just spent a couple $1,000s on a course that I'm not completing, because I realized 50% through the course, the speaker lab, finished 50%. It's a 6-month course. I finished 50% in it in the first month. I said, if I could do that, it's not worth $14,000. You know what I mean? I didn't pay the whole $14,000, right? But the whole point just being, bro, that with stocks, just like anything, kind of like we just said, if you're not moving with God, you will go wrong. When you're trusting your own wisdom, everything will seem like it's progressive, but it's actually not. Sometimes God just wants us to be still. There's a beautiful verse, bro, that I was just reading yesterday. Luke 24:49, bro. It's so beautiful, bro, where Jesus is telling his disciples, he said, the promise of my Father, I think he said, God forgive me if I'm misquoting this, but he said, I pray upon you, or something, or like put upon you, that ye tarry a while in Jerusalem until ye be endued with power from on high. Like, he just told his disciples, wait here until God comes and the Holy Spirit hijacks.
Are you talking about Acts, the Pentecost?
No, this is Luke 24.
This is Luke, okay.
I grabbed my Bible for this.
I'm thinking of something else.
Nah, you good, bro, but I mean, and that's the thing. The doctrine is connecting, so it's not like it's not anywhere else in the Bible. That's
right.
So it could be. Well, it could well be in Acts 2. But remember, Luke 24 verse 49. He tells his disciples to wait in Jerusalem, bro, which is where they were. They went to the wilderness or whatever, or they were in Bethany or something, or whatever. And he said, wait in Jerusalem until you are endued with power from on high. Sometimes we just got to wait to get that Holy Spirit, because I like to ask myself this. I'll be like, which one of your efforts, which one of your sentences, which one of your desires did it for you? And I'd be like, I don't know. And God be like, well, sit your ass down.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's huge. And you're right. And Luke, it's in Luke, but it's also in Acts. You're right, because I just thought about it. So, yeah, you talking about the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then right after John is Acts. And you have them actually waiting for the Holy Spirit to be endowed into them. And they began speaking in tongues. So, yeah, you're right. I'm actually reading the Gospels right now every morning. So that's the big part of staying spiritually strong. But you're right, just waiting. And sometimes when the worldly riches don't present themselves, you get tired of waiting. And people stop. Like just people, everybody that gets into something new always talks about that time and they losing money. And if you worldly are serving a master of money, you sitting there like, forget this, man. I just lost a couple $1,000s. What? That wasn't your time. God didn't take that. That wasn't your time. That God wanted you to have that.
Kuye.
You got to take time to learn this. God didn't say that good things come to those who are
hasty.
Who are hasty.
Who are patient.
Who are patient.
Yeah. Wait. Look, bro, I lost $11K in one day in March because I was moving too fast. And I proceeded, and it's not a loss. This is the funny thing. It's not like, actually, yes, the loss was 8K on that one day, but the loss increased itself because I started running around with like a chicken with his head cut off. And I'll explain this for the experience or the ear of anybody who's listening, maybe even yourself. When that happened, bro, it was very personal because I was up $75,000. And in less than 30 seconds, $10,000 left my account. It was the most physically, like when I said a demon came into my life that day, I've never battled. I battled for 3 months, bro. I've never been tormented in such a way, bro. That's how I know God is real, because I'm still here talking to you consciously. Like when I say I'd lay on this very floor, bro, right here, like on my back, and just stare at the ceiling for hours and hours, and I'd be like, and he'd be like, what am I supposed to do? How do I? God was just like, hey man, just wait, don't do nothing. And I'm like, I gotta trade again. I gotta get it back. Speaking of stocks, gotta be patient with the stocks, even when you're trading. I didn't reduce my expectations, bro, but I was making like $3,500 a day, $5K a day. And in one bad decision, 3-4 days worth of work was gone. Not even a decision, a hasty decision. Not being patient, right? So since we're out talking about stocks, anything worth having takes time. Anything. There's no fast, like people see my day change sometimes on Instagram and think like, oh, that's because I recovered $12,000.
They don't think about the money lost on the journey. They think about the money made by seeing someone who's already been through that portion.
$600 isn't anything when you just saw $6,000 and you're just like, okay, now I'm playing the humble game. Now I'm letting this work for me. I'm not looking at it, and I'm just gonna wake up and okay, cool.
So many people with stocks, especially, they start to look at their phone all day and be waiting for it to go up. They question themselves because the position is constantly moving up and down.
We had somebody at the retreat like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no name, but our brother was so infatuated with the numbers, he's making a couple cents. I wasn't doing anything. I'm like, hey, bro, I'm up $320. And he's like, yeah, bro, I just traded all day for that. I'm like, man, like, I would hate to be that. And not even hate, God forbid, but thank God that I know who I worship. Anybody who's looking to get into stocks, even for like your community, take your time. Take your time. I pay my mom with the stocks, with the IRA. She got sent to LA. I took $250 and hey, you're gonna take $2,300. She's but what? I don't need a whole lot. I got a place. My bills are paid. My daughter is down the street. Like, what do I need? You're 64. You need this piece. You're trying to see the... Go ahead. Anything worth having, bro, you must be willing to sacrifice a piece of yourself, especially if it's of this world, bro. Especially if it's not of the spirit. Like, God's not going to ask you to do anything when it's spiritual. But you want something from this world, be alone. Be isolated. Be confused. Be lost. Tarry. Long suffering. Be patient. Be faithful.
We will have those moments. Everybody will have those moments. He talk about in Matthew and in Mark, they both talk about how Jesus, as soon as he came, he was tempted to go. He went in the wilderness and was tempted for, I forgot how many days.
40 days.
40 days. Immediately.
Immediately, bro.
Immediately. He was alone having to fight the temptations of the devil. And that's really what's going to happen. The devil is going to want to have you believe in lies, have you believe that God isn't going to provide for you. You are going to suffer along the way, and when you do have those huge losses, it's going to be the times where he really trying to get at you. He really trying to get you to believe those lies.
But also, that's when God is the strongest. Mm-hmm. You know, for the longest, bro, I was afraid to trade after that loss. I didn't trade for 2 months. People don't know that. I would be investing and making profits, but I didn't trade. I was so scared. I was like, I can't do it. I just started trading again in like 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. Profit every time. Every time. The first time, every time. I do one trade a day, actually. That's how I trade now. Mm-hmm. I don't do like all this other extra shit. Excuse my language. I'll just do one trade a day. Sometimes it's $50. Sometimes it's 300. Sometimes it's 400. Whatever it is, it's just one trade a day. Mm-hmm. Because self-control is sound mind. That's a sound mind. That's like what God gave us.
Why do we fast? Not to overindulge and deny the body so that you can get closer with God. I mean, that's big in what I'm fasting. I'm back fasting again. I fasted for 2-3 years before I even reconnected with God. It was just something I did, not realizing what the ultimate purpose of it was, to deny yourself. But that's huge. We have to deny ourselves, because that dopamine hit we get when we trade in all the time, that's not that's not denying yourself. Yeah, that's definitely you getting really caught up with the fact that you're like serving money at that point. You getting really caught up in, but
it's this whole like idea, Kuye, I'm be honest with you, even at this age, bro, I'm 24, like it's this whole idea where my role models are doing it, everybody else down there is trying to do it, so I'm gonna do it too. And it's like, God just told me, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. He said, if you can just trade for the rest of the year and not post about it, I'll increase you greatly. I was like, ooh. And that's my challenge right now. Like, bro, don't post no profits. Don't convince nobody to do it. Just do it. And I've seen it, bro. Like, I've literally seen it. The stocks will go up, and then I want to post about it, make an image or a reputation for myself, right? When I already know what God's doing in private. I can see it on my computer screen. I can see it in my mama's life. I can see it on my bank account. The moment I post about it or say anything about it, I'll lose like 5-10%. I promise you, every time. Self-control is, it's not like, it's not difficult, but it's a journey, bro. I'm be honest, because self-control doesn't just mean you don't drink, doesn't mean you don't smoke. Like, I actually stopped smoking too. You feel me? Which is so funny, because that was a new change. I was like, yeah, I don't even smoke no weed no more. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't really drink. I was like, I'm not gonna drink anymore, bro. When I'm bored, I'm just gonna read the Bible. You know what I mean? With stocks, bro, it's whoever made, I'll say it like this, whoever made the stocks or invented this whole thing knew that they were building something you couldn't control. They just learned a couple things about it. And that's how they stayed in control of that. You just know, like, I don't know how the wires are configured in this cord, but I know if I plug this cord into that mixer, it's going to make sound go. Knowing a few things about your tools can help you use them, right? Whoever built the stocks knew that. The stocks are evil. I'll tell you this for sure. Why? And I recommend everybody to invest, but to do it slowly. Much like your real estate, you're not going to sell $1 million property by having a good tenant like having a good tenant doesn't increase the value of your property. Having a good stock does not increase the value of your portfolio if you don't know how to use it. So a lot of people, we're all chasing money here, right? That's all it's for. I'll be honest with you. It's just for money, right? Purpose that money to do something greater than yourself, and God will increase it. I seen my account go from 25K. I seen myself make 20K in a week on my best week. And I gave 75% to my mom. And she didn't know what to do with it. You know what this woman did? She denied herself the same way I denied myself, because I am a branch of my root of the tree, you know. And she put it into an account. And didn't tell me she put $14,000 into an account. And that's what paid my rent for the rest of the year. She just told me this last month. She was like, "Oh, you don't have to worry about this. You sent me this money. I put it away." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Something just told me to do that." I was like, "That was for you." She's like, "I don't need anything. I'm happy." I was like, wow, she retired. She takes care of dogs now. Like, it's a beautiful thing. I took her out of her job. I never thought I could do that, bro. I've been in this apartment for only 7 months. I was homeless before here, bro. I was going hotel to hotel. Had all the rentals. I was making $4 or $5K a month, but I couldn't keep it because the situation was inconsistent, because I wasn't in the same bed every night, because the rates changed, and this, you need a 3 times the income to make rent. You can't be at this. You need a credit score of this. I'm like, bro, I'm qualified. I got the money. And I realized the system is evil, because it's not all about the money. They want you to have all these different pieces that God never asked you for, bro. You know, and I ran myself into a miserable position by trying to keep up with the world. And that's why I told you when you walked in, I was like, hey, bro, I don't really be in tune with the team. It makes me miserable to be around people, like, not like everyone, but when I'm around a large group of people, bro, that have no purpose, that don't know what's going on or it makes me miserable. I feel like I'm like offending God, because I know what I'm here for. I'm supposed to take care of my mother and my daughter. Period. I am the cornerstone of my family. I am the first millionaire in my family. You know what I mean? My oldest brother, 36, he's amazed. He don't got no stock portfolio. He didn't take my mama out of her job, and he's a luxury swim coach in L.A. My other brother, he signed to a record label deal. Multi-million record. Told my mama, why would I come back to Chicago? Why would I come back to see you? Well, there's no point. He said, there's nothing here for me. I was like, your mother's here. She just wants to see you. You can gain all you want, bro, and all this stuff, but without purpose, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Without instruction, without guidance, without that knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and discretion of the great kings, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. It's big what you're talking about in terms of contentment and progress, but the right type of progress, because you can be content in what you have while also progressing in a positive way, that the Lord directed your steps. You know, the steps of a good man are directed by the Lord, and you have the, the framework I always use when I'm asking questions with the podcast is like, my framework, like mindset, habits, connection. Biggest part with you, we talked about mindset a lot, habits, talking about getting into the good habits of saving money and getting into like the stocks and building yourself to actually for the purpose of the people you're connected with, your mom and your daughter, and also God. We forget that, building a relationship with God, is what we do by reading his word. Like that's the connection in itself. When I talk about networking, it don't just mean your network of, friends or colleagues or family, but yeah, God is a part of that, huge part of that. And the mindset. I mean, he gives you the foundation of how you should think, the foundation of what can get you success as well. But to kind of like get into this and like wrap it up, end it off, I do want to talk about, now that we talked about the stocks and it kind of, we worked through that framework. How are we thinking about the book? Because I definitely want to talk about the book, man. I know we got, I talked about, because I've had other people on that was a part of the book, but the biggest thing is the impactful stories that are going to impact certain people over others. my story isn't going to impact the people that your story is going to impact. It's going to, like, your story is going to impact different people at such a deep level to where they going to, reach out to you. Same thing with me, like, and not necessarily to hold you up there, but so that you can be the vessel for God to do his work in that sense. So what do you think about your message, the things that you're doing with your brand, with the stocks, everything you provide, and, doing the work that you're doing? What do you think about that?
See, bro, I've been absent in a lot of those team meetings, right? Because I'm a ruler of my own spirit. I haven't lost a dime, and I haven't lost an ounce of myself for those absences. If anything, it's brought more discomfort to others than it has to myself. It's never about me, bro. I wrote that book because they told me to write it. I want to testify. I want people to know God is real. Like that's like, I'm addicted. Like I live by myself. I can hoop and holler here all I want. I could praise the Lord as much as I want, and I do, bro. I know my neighbors are probably see me and they be like, that's the nigga that he's driving and he's dressed like that's the dude. I got my chain on and everything. I'm yep, that's him. That's who's screaming at 2 a.m. Praise God, you hear gospel music on my TV.
I see the post, man. I see the post, the biblical wisdom late at night. I'll be asleep. I wake up in the morning. I'm seeing the
professor,
post that you
bro.
post.
You never sleep.
I'm like, oh man. Like I'm getting up doing my Bible study, and I go on social media real quick to see like who posted. And I'm like,
yes,
this man
bro.
up. This man was up last night, like 2 a.m. I'm waking up at 4:30. He's just
bro. I'm just going to sleep. Like, and it's like I'll be up again at 9 o'clock. I'm not sleeping my whole day away.
Right.
It's so important, Kuye, that with this book and my story, yes, I want people to be empowered. And yes, I want, obviously your story is unique too. And everybody else on the team has a story too, bro. But I think that, like, people, like, the impact is spiritual, bro.
Yeah.
Your story's gonna invigorate somebody's spirit.
Right.
Your story's gonna change somebody's heart. Your story's gonna open somebody's mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just you coming here seeing this is an experience I never get to. You know what I mean? I used to try to do this with people, and people would never like. So I stopped chasing it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's beautiful to be like welcomed in my own. This is my space, right?
Right.
But to welcome you and then be welcomed into this conversation, that is more valuable to me than the book.
Right.
This conversation has more value to me than anything I wrote in that book.
Mm-hmm.
This conversation has more value to me than anything I did at that retreat.
Mm-hmm.
This conversation has more value to me than anything I've done with the 1% team. You know why? Because I had a similar conversation with Anthony Casper.
Mm-hmm.
These one-on-ones for me, where it's me and just another man and we're sharpening each other.
Right. That's
my
the
cup
place
of
where
tea,
you're
bro.
able to make the most impact.
Yeah.
You're able to make the most impact and glorify God in a deeper way.
And I talked to you even
right.
at the
Yeah,
retreat.
yeah,
I started calling you the professor.
You're right. You can glorify God in a deeper way one-on-one. It is huge. I hope that, the message, especially, I believe that both of our messages and other people's messages have found foundation in bringing people closer to God. Amen. To believe in that faith,
Amen.
Understand that faith is a necessity.
Amen.
To the mind and the necessity to the spirit, but also making sure that we do understand our strengths. Like you love one-on-one. I'm definitely a mix. I love one-on-one, being a counselor professionally. I mean, I've done one-on-one, I've done group sessions. I mean, I've spoke in front of audiences. I've done it all. But ultimately now with the clarity of being with God, you understand that it was all to bring me closer and other people closer to him. So it is huge what you said, like that. The message, the book, what you do one-on-one is all a conduit for his message and to glorify him. So
Amen.
that's huge. And I definitely believe that when that comes out, maybe the book isn't the best way of expressing, like it's so hard to tie in everything that you need to get out in a book to like really make sure you glorify it in the right way. It's harder to do, but I do believe those one-on-one conversations like get really effective with people having to actually expand and elaborate on like the topics of like the mindset, how we can go into it, like really get deep into it and like really wrap everything together in a conversation like this. you can't get it out in a book, at least in a way like a collaborative book in the way we did it. That's why I know it's huge in like the future, people becoming and actually having their own books, you know, if God say it be so. Because I remember years ago saying I was going to do a book. Never ended up doing it, and I think there was a reason why, because I was not connected with God the way I am now. I think it was a reason I didn't write that, because the foundation would have definitely been a bit off. It wouldn't have been the way it should have been, now that I know like how necessary and how much that was a part of me. And I didn't even realize how much was a part of me till I reconnected with that part. Because like you said, I grew up in the church. You know, you train a kid up in the way that he should go and he shall not depart. Well, I did leave the church for a while, and then I came back and realized like, that's why I thought this way. That's why I always believed in certain things. I didn't act upon it the best and didn't repent for those things like I should have. But now that I'm back here, I understand why. You know, that's huge.
And I just want to say this, bro. This is just on the tip of my tongue the whole time. The blind will lead the blind. Just remember that. I don't like to be around people for a very good reason. It's like some experience, but people's intentions get mixed, right? Yes. And then here, right? I'll say, I'm trying to find the most like graceful way to put this. We can't name ourselves greatness. Hear me out. We can't name ourselves greatness and then try to tell everybody else, you are me. We can't proclaim, it says that, don't praise yourself, right? I will always, like, even on my Instagram post, it's a very subtle thing. I do it to make people upset. I talk very viciously about the numbers. I talk very adamantly about the amount this, and you could do this. Never once do I talk about myself. I mean, hey, man, you could do this. Hey, I don't know, people are this. And people miss the whole thing. Like, I'm not focused on me. I'm trying to help you. Now, look, there's some things that are disguised as assistance. The moment you take that hand, bro, you're not being pulled up. You're being dragged into another world. Not even down. Maybe sideways. Maybe right. Who knows? But, bro, you just, like,
I know exactly what you're saying too.
Yes.
And it's funny because I feel like you'll speak on something and I've been thinking it, but I
you don't say
I peep game and I don't speak as much.
Man,
you know I'm a type of person to sit around and analyze the situation very deeply and then figure out how things are going on. But I know exactly
what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying, and
like,
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about
this
that.
This is
for
dope,
sure.
bro. I mean, like, this is, you said, what's it called? Minority Mind?
Yeah.
And I know the podcast Minority Mindset, but look, Minority Mind, right? This is unique. It has nothing to do with you.
No, it's definitely glorify other people and glorify God at the end of the day.
Your name is not in it.
Nope.
Praise be to God.
Praise be to God.
God bless your business.
That's the biggest
you
thing.
Always increase, bro, because you're actually moving in a way that is approved and approvable.
Mm-hmm.
It's important, bro, that as young men, bro, we try to attach our names to things. We try to incorporate ourselves. We try to do all this other stuff. And then prosperity runs away from us because it doesn't want us. Prosperity does not want us. It wants to join the fullness of God, which should be alive in us.
And you listen to Myron Golden, so you know his biggest tenet is you focus on people. Like, you focusing on other people.
But even Myron, you can see it in his eyes. Not saying that he's not a great man, bro. He makes $1 million a month. When is enough? You're telling me, hold on. Myron Golden has chased wealth his whole life. He says it. He chased it. Then he figured out, he got what he asked for. Look at how long he had to suffer because what he wanted, and he's a pastor, what he wanted was rooted in this world. You're telling me you make $1 million a month and you still not satisfied? You still working? Are you kidding me? And you 60-some years old? You are addicted. I stopped listening to certain people, bro, because I started seeing things. Discernment is a gift. I'm not following nobody. If I made $1 million a month, let me work 12 months and you will never see me again. what? I'm not gonna go buy $1 million home. I'm gonna go buy a $3,000 a month condo or something, or a house that's 400, 500K, and put my family up. Why? Because in Texas, I could spend $500,000 and get a mansion. Right? Arizona. I'm not gonna go to Cali. I'm not gonna go to New York and have the most lavish. I don't need to be in the Cayman Islands. I don't need to be on the Virgin Islands. So I guess like this is where I leave it for myself on my message. We just have to be aware, bro. We have to be able to discern what is from God and what is not. Like, it's just crazy to me, bro. That's why I be absent in a lot of circles, because I understand that God is not in the hearts of these leaders.
Yeah. It's big. You can see where the worldly sin nature gets caught up in certain things, and it's not. And that's the biggest thing why I pray for other people, because I know that I'm not perfect as well. So I'm definitely spending time talking to God. I'm not worthy. I speak to him all the time, and I pray for forgiveness every day. And it's like one of the things is, trying to live closer to his word and living closer to his word actively is very important for me to make sure that, something is left here to bring people closer to him, because I have to be brought closer to him. And if I can be a conduit, I mean, my grandfather was a conduit for me in ways that he wouldn't even know, because he's developed out of his, past stuff, coming from Nigeria and then raising his kids and them coming from a certain background. Like you see the progression and how God works through people. And it's not necessarily like my story would be a lot about how I learned it from other people and also had it work on me, but there's people before you that had it worse than you. And that's the thing. Some of us aren't
100%.
blessed enough to know our grandparents and have conversations about how they grew up. My grandmother passed early, and she was the closest thing to me. And I know that there's things that happened in her life I could never ask her that made her who she was. I'm like, man. And the only way we can make sure that, and God was present to her. She the one that she went to church with us. God was present with her, seriously. And the only thing we can do is continually raising his name up and showing people that, you don't have to be a product of the environment. That faith, if there's one thing I can spiritually give to my kid, it's faith. Have that faith. Yes. I'm not going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. Have that faith that God is going to work it out in his good, because everything works together for his good at the end of the day.
Amen.
But last thing, man, what do you want to shout out, bro? I really, we gonna tag you in the shorts and all this stuff. We're gonna get the footage and everything still, but what do you want to shout out, man? I really want to make sure that, all praise be to God, but where can they find you and everything like that?
Just find me at TakeEmUp23 on all social media platforms. Zadi.thedifference on TikTok and Instagram. And then Nicholas Akogu, that's my servant page where I'm just posting about God and stuff. I'm really just working on like humbling myself in this time of my life. So, you might not see a whole lot of me, but I'm there, bro, and I'm always willing to participate in the right thing. I'm not chasing anything in this world. I just want to see my mother happy and my daughter like abundantly provided for by my hand. Like, that is the biggest blessing I could ask for. That's the only thing I ask for, just the knowledge, wisdom, discretion, understanding and discretion to provide for my mother and my daughter in a way that I never could have imagined. Period. That $1 million a month, let my mama experience that. If that's what it's gonna be, let 75% of that go towards her comfort and her last days being in peace and all of that. I promise you, bro. That's how my heart works. Like, my mother's an angel, and she's a woman that I don't think they will make again on earth. Like, I don't know. Like, she's a very unique character.
It's beautiful you talk about it that way too, because it's like, man, I can only imagine what she went through to shape her to be who she was. And you can only imagine, like, when you find people like that, it's like they went through some stuff to become who they were, took the lessons and worked with them to push that needle forward. It's amazing you talk about it like that, bro. Man. That's amazing.
But I don't want to keep going deep. We could talk for days.
Yeah, man, we talk all day. Y'all go follow him. I'm gonna link everything in the description and everywhere. We gonna tag him on everything, man. This was perfect.